filled the cavernous hall, underlined by the warm and merry crackling of the fireplaces that lit the vast space in their orange hue. Around an enormous wooden table, carved with intricate knotted designs and heavily laden with meat and drink, accomplished warriors sat and raised their horns in another toast. The space wolves were celebrating their latest, greatest victory. "And then I grabbed that damned orc by the scruff of the neck," Gilia Thunderstone bellowed with a level of glee that reached his bionic eye, "and threw him right back into the jaws of the Fenrisian wolves. I swear that wretched Xenos howled louder than the pack." Another wave of cheerful laughter ran through the feasting marines, and overflowing drinking horns clashed together. At the head of the table, the great wolf, Logan Grimnar, listened to the war stories of his warriors and smiled. Even in these dire times, the courage and spirit of his chapter remained untarnished. He took another sip from his horn and adjusted the huge grey pelt around his shoulders as his eyes wandered along the table. His battle brothers were in high spirits after facing and defeating a powerful orcish force that had amassed in the Javarian subsector. After everything the chapter had been through in the last century, it made Grimnar even prouder that the wolves still fought on, defiant and unrelenting. He paused for a moment as his eyes met those of Alvari Gloomwolf. Despite the generally cheerful sentiment in the great hall, the old rune priest honoured his name. His icy blue gaze was filled with dolour beneath his grey woolen hood. Grimnar was not the only one to notice. "Do you not celebrate with us, brother Gloomwolf?" Gila asked loudly. "Do you not drink to the fallen and laugh with the living?" Alvari averted his eyes. "There is nothing to celebrate, brother," the old priest murmured. These few words had an instant impact on the atmosphere in the room, and the temperature seemed to fall. "Nothing to celebrate," Gilia growled. "Did our brothers die for nothing? Did we free the Javarian subsector for nothing?" Alvari rose and thoughtfully stroked his long braided beard. "I am sorry, Thunderstone. I did not mean to disrespect the fallen." He turned to address the great wolf, who had been silently watching the exchange. "A great victory against the orcs was had, Lord Grimnar. It is true. But my visions remain troubling, to say the least. However, this evening is not the time to speak of it, for it is indeed a time to celebrate, even if it is not a celebration I wish to be part of." With these words, the old rune priest made for the huge metal doors, guarded by two chapter serfs in grey robes and furs, who opened them for the venerable space marine. "So you do disrespect our fallen, then?" Gilia snarled, rising from his seat. "Enough," Grimnar snapped. "Speaking to a rune priest like that, there is but one in this room who is disrespectful." The rest of the space wolves around the table murmured, but they were cut short as Gloomwolf suddenly whirled. Lightning danced around the glowing eyes of the rune priest, and his voice boomed. "You know nothing of the things to come, Gilia Thunderstone," he bellowed. The room seemed to become darker as the rune priest strode towards the table again. "The victory in the Javarian subsector was futile. The greenskins will return, stronger than ever before." A chill wind howled through the great hall, and flames in the fireplaces turned green and blazed higher, casting black shadows on the masonry that reminded Grimnar of brutish warriors. "Green trolls are rampaging far and wide," Alvari shouted. His voice was underlined by distant echoes of savage roars and the thunderous firing of ramshackle guns. "A green tide is roiling in the endless seas. Unaccountable are the ships that sink, unaccountable the warriors that drown in the devastation wrought upon them by the king of the trolls. Upon his throne of dark metal he throws back his horned head of adamantium, laughing with savage glee. He shouts for more, and in response his warriors come. Like a cyclone he draws them in, the green king of kings, preparing his ultimate war." Logan Grimnar slowly rose from his seat, his hands on the table. The wood felt reassuringly real and natural under his touch, whilst the rest of the room seemed to lose itself more and more in the howled prophecy of Gloomwolf. The Great Wolf and his warriors watched with furrowed brows as the rune priest continued his violent storm of words. "His roars spill the death of billions as his anger spills forth into world after world. Everything is swept away before the wrath of the Green King, who is feared even by his own kind. A ragged banner with the black horns of the bull rises, and fire and doom rain upon mankind. Weep despair." Suddenly, the flames in the great hall turned icy blue. Other shadows mingled with those on the walls, shapes of wolves baring their fangs and pouncing. But where fear raises its head, there is also defiance, the rune priest shouted, spreading his arms. "The black wolf comes forth from the darkness of his lair. His strike will be rash, but it will draw blood. The Green King and the Black Wolf will meet, and there, upon the precipice of death, shall they do battle unto its very ragged brink. The wolf has not howled its last breath. The Green King awaits. Destiny awaits." With these words, Alvari Gloomwolf clapped his hands together, sending a shockwave through the hall like rolling thunder, and extinguished the feasting flames in billowing clouds of choking smoke. With a last wild glare, he spun around and paced out of the room, his dark coat streaming behind him. As soon as he had left the hall, recessed emergency lumens sprung into life, drenching the hall in their red light. The space wolves around the table nodded at each other, looked at each other. Gilea Thunderstone opened his mouth, then closed it again and sat down. Logan Grimnar nodded slowly. "Well," he eventually said, "someone better find out where in the damned galaxy we can find Ragnar Blackmane."